video also, right? So we can put the video.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Edna J. White, and you are on Keeping It Real on Purpose. And I'm so glad that you're here today with me and my co-host, Dr. Neelam Parwani. I am getting better, right? I'm getting better, right?
Yes, you are. Hello,
better.
everybody, and hello,
I am
Edna.
getting better. I'm getting
Yeah.
better at the pronunciations. So
Yes, you are. You are a good
yes,
learner.
yes, I am a good learner. I want to stick to it. So this is the place to have real conversations that point you to your power. Topics about mindfulness, health, and healing, conscious living, personal transformation, emotional intelligence, spirituality, life purpose, and wellness in every aspect of life, career, and business. So come on, bring your fullest self for some thought-provoking talks, because today's topic is having difficult conversations during times of unrest. And I know you don't want to miss this. So Dr. Neelam, let's start talking about these difficult conversations, because you know we are in the climate for that. You know that.
Right now, in fact, in the last 1 year, this whole environment has been difficult for everybody. And this is the right topic at the right moment that we are touching it today, Edna. Difficult conversation in the time of unrest, when people are losing jobs, when people are losing loved ones. It's really difficult to talk to them. You know, the first thing everybody does if they have a difficult situation, they just close themselves completely. They don't talk at all. They all go silent. Do you also do that when you have a difficult situation? Do you talk or you just go silent?
I think I talk. I go silent for a second to
Hmm.
my thought.
Hmm.
Most difficult conversations, everyone's seeing the perception out of their eyes, the same reality out of their eyes.
True.
So I think I'm right. The other person think they're right. I don't see the problem as a problem. They think it's a problem. I make sense. They don't make sense. So it's often hard for us to see the other person, what they're saying, what makes sense. So I have to think a couple seconds and put on my.
It's always better to talk in this situation, because if you talk, then you can bring your emotions out. You can clear your head, and maybe sometimes you can get the solutions because you are talking. But if you are not talking, you are building those things right up in the mind. It is going to make you more stressed out, more depressed, and you will be thinking continuously, but there'll be no solution to it,
Right. Yeah.
So if you
I think I stop. It's not that I don't talk. I put on a different lens. I put on a different lens. Let me put on this lens that I need to be open to accept or, hear what the other person is saying. So I put that on,
I do it very differently. You know what I do when I have a difficult situation? I filter the people with whom I want to talk to. So if it is related to, I will be talking to somebody else. If it's related to my personal life, I'll be talking to somebody else. It is related to uh, something where I need a career advice or a financial advice, I will talk to somebody else. That way, it kind of gives me a leverage to see who all are there in my panel of talking, and I can go and directly approach that person, and that person understands me on that level. Instead of just putting all the emotional pressure on one person, I kind of do it equally among my set of people, and that really helps me.
I think that's the correct thing to do. Like when I was thinking about the vaccination, and I started putting on the thoughts of the other people. Like I heard rumors or myths about it could be like the Tuskegee Airmen. That situation.
Yeah, everybody has their own fears when it came to
vaccination. And I started taking them on. I started taking. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but let me something like this. Let me take on finding out from some professionals, some, scientific things like that. I started researching and having conversations with those people that had more information than I did.
And that will build your trust also, because when you're talking to an expert, it really gives you more confidence in that situation.
Oh, absolutely. And we don't get involved in assuming the other person's intent. See, that's different. You know, when we're talking about the vaccination, we assume that the other person wants us to get it so we can die. You know, and that's been some people's thoughts. Oh, they want us to die anyway. You know that. You know, and you assume the intention of the other person. But when you get a professional, you don't have to assume anything. You have the facts in front of you.
Yeah, you have the facts, you have the neutral advice, because that person has
Mhm.
nothing to gain or lose from you. So that
Yes.
person will give you the right advice.
Great. So what Dr. Neelam is saying, number one tool, make it safe to talk. It's okay to talk.
Definitely, it's okay to talk.
Okay. It's to embrace a mutual purpose and offer mutual respect. See, often when we get in conversations of difficult conversations, we don't offer mutual respect.
Yeah, we try to overpower the situation
Yeah,
because we want to prove our point. We are so desperate at that time to make sure that the other person thinks we are right. And we kind of raise our voice, we we become very aggressive, and people can
right.
see that coming from our expressions, from our tone, everything. We try to dominate the situation.
Exactly.
Which
And I know I was like that. I was like that. I would, you know, because I felt it was my passion. And I had to rethink that. I said, no, I have to dial it back a couple of notches, dial it back and say, no, 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 Edna, dial it back, because whether you're talking in a different tone, it can be perceived as a different tone, because it is. It's perceived.
Yeah, because the moment your tone, your expressions, your emotions change, you've actually lost the conversation. You've entirely gone on a different path. Now it's become a power game. It is no more talking about the problem and looking for the solutions.
It is. It becomes an argument. And also because having difficult conversations often involve other cultures. So you talking in,
About your, yeah.
yes, it could be misconceived as a threatening to someone else. So you have to,
Like right now, you talking about your culture and I talking about my culture. You talking
right,
about your food, I talking about my food, but we have to understand your climatic conditions, your food is best for you. And in
right,
my climatic conditions, my food is best for me. So
exactly,
there doesn't have to be any argument. It is just that you're sharing your views on the different topics.
exactly. And that brings us to tool number 2, listen. Often people listen to answer, but being a good listener, don't you think, Dr. Neelam, is very important?
Being a good listener is 80% of the conversation already.
It
If
is
you can listen carefully, you just need to talk 20% and your purpose will be solved because you
exactly
have listened to everything. But if you keep talking for 80% and listen for 20%, however much you're going to talk, you're not going to reach anywhere. It'll
no.
be no conversation and arguments. That's it.
That's it. That's all you're gonna get. You're only gonna get just complete confusion because you're talking over the other person. You're not listening to be able to absorb. You're not listening for clarity. You're not listening for the way the person is expressing themselves, like you said earlier. And you're number one, you're not acknowledging the other person's feelings. That's
True.
important. You're not acknowledging that. And that's when the trouble comes in the conversation, when you don't acknowledge the other person.
Exactly. Because if two people are talking and nobody's listening, then whom are they talking to?
You're right. Who are you talking to? This everybody's just talking. You know, everybody's just talking.
Nobody's listening.
Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening. And what
Then who are you talking to? You're just
I
wasting your energy without any reason. And all of them are going to be dissatisfied in the end because nobody has resolved the situation. Nobody has come to a conclusion. So it's all of them will be dissatisfied. None of them will be satisfied in that situation.
yes. And some of what I try to get clarity on when I want to understand. So when someone says something to me, I said, "Oh, tell me more," because I want to understand, or help me understand what you mean by that.
You need to sometimes go deeper to understand the
Yes,
situation.
because sometimes it's not what you know what you perceive, or and sometimes it's not how they say it. They may say it in a way that needs to be clear, and you need to understand it. So that's really important too. You know, it's really important.
Secondly, I feel when it is a difficult conversation, your sentences should be small and specific.
Yes.
If you start giving too many long explanations, you yourself get confused about what you're talking. And you start contradicting your own self because there's so much happening. Any which ways in a difficult conversation, you're emotionally so bottled up. You want to say everything in one go. But that's the time you have to take a pause and say small sentences. So
Right.
you also think and the message goes clear to the other person that what you want to say, what you want to convey.
Right. That's very important. It's what you want to convey, not what your point is. Because you want
Yeah.
what you want to convey. And convey means a mutual understanding and respect and open listening to everyone. That's what it really is. So
Because somehow some situations are very difficult to handle. Like if you have to talk to somebody who has
mhm,
lost a loved one. Now that's a difficult conversation. Some people don't even know how to say anything in those situations. So sometimes it is just a hand gesture. You're just going and holding the hand of that person is more than enough. There you do not need the words. You just need the feelings to pass by. And that again is a form of conversation. You
right,
just have someone who has lost a job. It's okay.
right.
Everything will be fine. Just that hug gives them assurance. So every time you don't need words in difficult situations. Sometimes you need, sometimes you need words. Sometimes you just need hand gestures. You just
Right.
need to understand the situation and then react to it.
That's right. And that brings us to tool number 3. Like you just said, the critical component is to allow yourself to express your view and listen to the other person's view. So it's always an and, so you can have a complete understanding so that you
True.
move through the conversation, because most of it, like you just said, is emotions. And then you can be able to listen and get a better view. So that's really good. Number 4 tool, learn to recognize your stories to separate impact and intent. Let's talk about that, Dr. Neelam.
True.
Very important.
That is also very important. Sometimes when we are talking about a story, we forget the intent and we only focus on the impact.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we want the other person to be impressed, we sometimes tweaks the whole story and give them something else,
Right,
which again is not a right way of doing a difficult conversation because your intent should be clear. Why are you talking about this situation? Why
right.
are you communication? Your intent is not clear. Whatever you say, your results will not be there in that conversation
That's
because
right.
it's not clear.
Yes, absolutely. So assumption is out of the equation, because we tend to put assumption everything. I think dealing with conflict and difficult things always comes with an assumption, before the behavior. So you may have maybe given off to someone like the difficult situation with the racial disparity at this point right now in around the world. We may have an assumption about somebody right before,
True.
right before, and oh, this is
We all do assumptions. We all
yes,
do lots of our assumptions for that matter.
that's right. It's we all
We
assumptions.
all live in a dream world where we keep assuming things about ourselves as well as for others.
Exactly. We all have, and then we have these behaviors that come along with them. And then if you see someone, it's almost you already got that up. It's like, okay, uh, yeah, you have,
It's just that before even talking to that person, you've created that
yes,
image in your mind. And now you don't want to move from that image.
nope, and you're playing, and it's playing over and over in your head. So when you get to the point of even having the conversation, you need to separate it. That's what I was talking about when I get into a situation, like I need to separate impact
Yes.
and so I need to separate that. And I'm that's a learning process. That's because every situation, as we were talking before we started recording, every situation is totally different. Respond
Totally different.
totally
And
different.
the way to understand is whenever you're having a difficult conversation with someone, completely cut off yourself emotionally and look at it at a neutral perspective. Now,
Mhm.
you are not looking at it as Etna, you're looking at it as a neutral person for
Right.
whom I'm going to first listen, understand the situation, then I'm going to talk. If I listen, as Adina, I already have 10 assumptions and previous experiences of the same situation. So I've already started building a story and a conclusion on it even before listening. Okay, I have dealt with this situation before, so this is going to go this way. Not necessarily everything is going to go that way. So
Right,
keep your experiences aside, keep your emotions aside, become like a neutral spectator, listen
right.
to that, then respond.
You're right. You have to, those things have to be done. And see, you just point, see, we're doing so well today. We're moving through this conversation, this difficult conversation topic right on
We
time.
are moving easily in a difficult position.
Just moving through it. So it brings me to tool number 5, use the I message. You know how we were having a conversation and we're getting frustrated. So we'll say, you keep rambling on and on and on and on and on. And you're saying the same thing. Using the word, that accusatory and blaming statement puts up someone's defenses right away. Like,
Defensive mode. True.
what, whoa, what? Like,
You might not even come back again the next time I talk to you.
you might get someone that says, whoa, what, and walk away, or you might get somebody that blasts you and it's not even about the topic. Like, how could you be blaming me? And they go off on you, and the problem still isn't solved. Conflict still hasn't had a conversation. So keep to the I message. I am not understanding you. Help me to hear what I'm missing. I, not what you're not saying. I've never say you, what you're not saying, what I'm missing. Use the I statement because it's not inflammatory, and it keeps the person responsible for expressing themselves, being able to speak. It doesn't get,
Yeah, and that message will also make the person understand you're taking interest in the conversation. That's
yeah,
why you ask me.
right,
Otherwise, you will not even ask. So this shows that you're interested in the conversation, and that's going to really motivate that person. Okay, I can confide in this person because he's actually listening. She's actually listening to me.
right, right. And now that's number 6 tool, focus on contribution, not blame. Can you talk about a little bit about that, Dr. Neelam?
Yes, contribution is very important from both the sides. The person who is already in a difficult situation will contribute with telling you everything. Now, what should be your contribution? See, sometimes we are in a situation where we might not be able to give the right advice. We might not be the expert of everything. But in that situation, what we can give them is assurance. If you
Yes.
can't give the right advice, at least give them the assurance that things will be fine. Give them the assurance. I might not be the right person, but we will look for a right person together and get this solved for you. You know, that assurance itself, guidance itself can help a person come out of that situation beautifully.
Right. And we got to be certain that this conversation that we're going to have is, you know what I'm saying? It could be just a bunch of, you thinking some way because they look certain way, but make sure it's a conversation that's worth addressing, and it's not issues with you. That's what you got to make sure of, because I know a lot of times I have to do that. I have to make sure that, I'm having the conversation. Is this going to help me to be productive and the person to be productive? Is this a conversation that's worth having? Is it my own problem? Is it how I feel and not how they feel? You know what I'm saying?
True.
Can I be lumping everyone into one category?
That's the reason we cannot just go back to our experiences and start judging that situation based
Right,
on our experiences, because every time the situation is different. Because the person who's in that situation is different. That's why everything about that situation has changed now.
right. And I find also having these difficult conversations, that the word thank you is very important to ending this because it resolves conflict and it gives understanding. You know,
Thank yous and sorries are very important in difficult situations. If you have
it's
done something wrong, there is no harm in apologizing things. If there's somebody is really helping you should be grateful and the gratitude should come.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I think we've covered some things, Dr. Neelam. Do you have anything else that you want to say? Because I think we did a tremendous job. I think we got our
Yeah,
eyes
the
on
only
the prize
thing
with
I
this.
can say is people come with difficult situations. Everybody get difficult situations in their life. The
Yeah,
only to come out of it is look for the right guidance and have patience. These
yeah,
two things really work in those difficult times and difficult
absolutely.
situations. If
Patience,
you get the right guidance, it's a blessing in disguise.
it is.
Patience, any problem, any difficult situation will eventually have a solution.
That's right. So we've covered that. Having difficult conversations during times of unrest, and we are in those times. So I'm
Yes, yeah.
this conversation. I'm glad that we both lend to a different perspective, and we're both, it's good to have these conversations and have ways to have them, because we talk about resolving contact conflict, but we don't really talk about it. We say it, but we don't, and kind of guide people through it. And that
We're not even open about those discussions. We
no.
need to be open. We need to start talking first.
Yes.
We need to start talking about those
Start
things.
talking. That's what it should be. Start talking about these different
Talking.
conversations. It's important because even working in an office, not having those conversations keeps the walls up. It keeps the walls,
True.
keeps the separation going. And
Hmm.
maybe that you have the same feelings I have, but we don't talk about it. It's like a gigantic, like they say, the elephant in the room, a gigantic elephant literally in the room, and everybody's kind of going around the elephant, under the elephant, climbing over the elephant,
Getting their own thing. What is this image and what is that image?
and still the elephant's in the room. So it's important to have these difficult conversations and start talking. Thank you, Dr.
Yes.
Parwani, for being here with me today, being my co-host for the whole month. It's been really great.
Yes, because we've been talking. See, that's how we became
Yeah,
co-hosts. We are a classic example of
exactly. We
talking. If
did.
we wouldn't have talked with each other, we wouldn't have taken this journey
That
forward.
is correct. We started talking, really did, and we've been talking since.
Yes.
So this is Keeping It Real on Purpose. Thank you all for coming. Remember, share, subscribe, talk about us, tell somebody else about us, share on your social media. We're here for you. If you have any comments or questions, you can look in the bottom of the comments, and our information for each of us is right in the comments. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and we'll see you next time on Keeping It Real on Purpose. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for being here. All of you have a great day. Bye bye. And thank you, Edna. Thanks. It was lovely talking to you.
You too. Have a good day.